Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, welcome. My name is Corinne. I'm a single mom. I'm a nurse. I have a son named Noah who has special needs, and I'm going to be talking about him right now. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be talking about Noah, my son Noah. If you guys are familiar, he has what's called Agenesis of the Corpus Callosum. The reason why I'm doing this video is because this is something that I wanted to talk about for a while. When I first started my channel, it was going to be about him and his journey, but of course, you know, I got caught up in nursing school and that just became a whole thing with my channel, which is fine. But I just recently posted on my community tab for you guys and just kind of vented and told you guys what was going on. I'm pretty transparent about everything, but it's just hard to keep up sometimes, especially with the situation that I'm in as a single mom. I work around the clock as well. I'm a nurse, and doing it by yourself, it can be overwhelming. So today I'm just going to talk about his journey from start to where we are right now. My pregnancy was not easy, and I told you guys in one of my videos, my domestic violence video, you know, what I went through while I was pregnant. Besides that, you know, Noah didn't give me any problems. I never got sick with him, and I had a smooth pregnancy as far as like me and him. I want to say about 7 months pregnant, that's when I actually had an incident where I fell, and I don't necessarily think this was the cause of his issues. I think this was something that just was kind of overseen from the beginning because I was young. 27. I was 27. Yeah, I'm 27. That may not be young to some people, but yeah, I was 27. And these things get overlooked when you're healthy, you're young, and there wasn't any genetic testing done, no amniocentesis, which is a prenatal diagnosis of the fetus where they pull some amniotic fluid just to detect if there's any chromosomal abnormalities. So yeah, it took me to fall. I actually fell on my way to work. I tripped over a parking block and fell right on my stomach. I thought that I lost Noah at that point. They had to rush me to the hospital because he was not moving. Like, I didn't feel anything, and this is 7 months pregnant. I'm basically in my 3rd trimester. They did some ultrasound, they did an MRI, and I want to say about a week or so later after that, they told me something was wrong with Noah. So I ended up going to my GYN. He really didn't have any answers for me. He just wasn't really like hands-on. He basically like pushed me off to a specialist. I was sent upstate New York to see a radiologist, and he detected that Noah had some abnormalities. He couldn't quite pinpoint what was going on, but he told me basically like his brain did not grow in its entirety. They connected me with a geneticist who was able to tell me exactly what was going on and that he's seen this diagnosis before with someone else. But I ended up finding that he has Agenesis of the Corpus Callosum, which is he's missing that matter that connects the hemispheres and is pretty much in charge of everything. There's children or even adults that can live with this and not have any problems. You know, they can go about their lives normal, but then there are children and adults who are suffering mental retardation. I just feel that Noah's probably at that spectrum. Not to say that he is not cognitive of certain things, but he definitely expresses, you know, those mental retardation symptoms. So going back, they connected me with a specialist ultimately who actually cared for me throughout my last trimester of my pregnancy. And shout out to Dr. Chavez. He's part of NICU. Let me just tell you, he is a no-nonsense doctor. Like, he will not BS you. Very assertive, and I can tell you, if it wasn't for him, I feel like I'm about to cry. Pull it together. If it wasn't for him, I could tell you that Noah would not be here today. I was supposed to see him for a follow-up visit, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna go or not, because I was working in a city at the time. I was actually doing property management. Before I became a nurse, I was a real estate agent and I also did property management, but something told me, you know, just go to this appointment, don't miss out on this appointment. So I came to the appointment, and I'm just sitting there in a room, and I'm just like, okay, like, why does this appointment seem longer than usual? I'm like, what is going on? Like, something is signaling to me like something is not right. And all of a sudden I see Dr. Chavez come in, and he's like, what is going on? And then he's looking, he's like, you mean to tell me like you can't see this? And I'm just sitting there like stunned. I'm like, what just happened? Like, what is going on? So he came to me and he was like, listen, I can save baby, but I can't save dead. Straight up. Now, again, I said I wasn't gonna jump around, but prior to this, when they set me up to see the radiologist, I was working with this doctor at the time. I think he's actually the doctor that set me up there to have a look further into everything. They told me he has a chromosomal translocation between chromosome 1 and 13, but it's not trisomy, it's just a piece of chromosome 13 latched onto 1, and I guess 1 is missing a piece. So at that point, they told me that he wasn't gonna live long, that I had the opportunity to actually abort Noah at that time. And I said, no way, like, I'm not aborting him. There's no way around this. I'm not giving up on him. So I want to say I fell in September and this happened in October. Fast forward, we're now in November. This is the day before Thanksgiving. I can save baby, but I can't save dad. When he said that, I was like, oh my god. He's like, listen, you gotta have this baby now. Like, you have to have him now. So they ended up sending me across the street to Winthrop University Hospital, which is a great hospital, by the way. And I was sent for an emergency C-section. I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I'm about to have this baby. I look like a hot mess. And I was already emotional because I'm like, am I about to lose my child? Like, what is going on? And obviously this is not the way that I wanted to give birth. Like, I didn't want to have a cesarean, you know, I wanted to give a natural birth. But of course, in an emergency situation, you know, you have to take initiative, which I'm thankful that this doctor did, because my GYN was nowhere to be found. I ended up having Noah at 12:40 in the morning on Thanksgiving Day. So when they took out Noah, his Apgar score was like 3. It was low, I remember that. And then it shot up to 9, and they were like, okay. So with the Apgar score, they basically test the baby's breathing, their color, their reflex, their muscle tone, their heart rate. Am I missing anything? Let me know. They took him right away. Like, I didn't even get to take a look at him. Noah's father looked at him and I was like, look at me, like, look at me, don't look at him, look at me, because I was shaking. I couldn't stop shaking. That's all I remember. And I remember being in recovery for like 2 hours just shaking. But anyways, this is about Noah. So they ended up keeping him in the NICU because he had issues with bradycardia. He did need assistance with oxygen. He ended up staying in an incubator for a little while. But as we were making progress, it's like he was taking steps back. Like, as soon as his heart rate was improving, it's like boom, he would have an episode. I've seen his heart rate go as low as, kid you not, like 30. I'm like, is my child alive? Like, what is going on? And of course, he was diagnosed with hypotonia. Now, I spoke to you guys about Noah having seizures, but he didn't have seizures right away. He didn't have seizures until about, I want to say, 9 months. But really what kept him in the NICU was the bradycardia. He ended up being on steroids for a little while with that, and he was also sent home on a heart monitor. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Owlet. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but let me tell you, when he came home, that was a lifesaver, because even though he was on a heart monitor, it wasn't one of those like mobile heart monitors. It didn't come with an app. So I basically was able to track his vitals from my phone, from anywhere. Like, anybody had access who I gave access to, they would be able to see his vitals from their cell phone. And I think they still have that app. So it was like a pulse ox, and it would just make sure that his saturation was up to par. But I was so nervous when Noah came home, and that was an experience in itself. And I had heavy postpartum depression because of everything. I was doing it all by myself. I would wake up in the middle of the night because a daggone alarm would go off, and then he would be hungry. So I was like bumping into walls trying to get him a bottle. And that's another thing. Noah actually had swallowing issues in the beginning. So we would see a therapist, and he had to go for his swallow test. I think it took about 3 swallow tests for him to actually get it right. So I said that he had hypotonia, or still has hypotonia. That's a condition where he has poor muscle tone. He wasn't able to lift himself up. So yeah, you know, the normal things that you see with children, them roll over, grasping things, you know, just lifting their head. Like, he was not able to do these things. He was so like wobbly. So in the beginning I had to prop him up. He always had to be held. He couldn't even hold his bottle, but with repetition and routine he was actually able to get these things done. So going back, when he was able to finally come home, he was sent home with a nurse. There was a lot of intervention in the beginning, so everybody was on board, but I had a nurse that would come to my home and check out Noah and make sure that everything was okay, that he was getting his medication, and pretty much keeping in contact, keeping records for the doctor. And then as he grew, we had sources linking us to early intervention, so he was able to get his physical therapy, his OT, his speech very early on. And the same scenario, they would come to the house and do therapy, and we did that for a while until he was able to transition into school. And he's in school right now, and the school that he goes to is amazing. They do everything with him, the PT, the OT, the speech. But for his diagnosis, being that there isn't a cure, the only way that we can, you know, resolve the situation, or at least make it better or see some type of improvement, is with therapy. So the geneticist that he saw told me his prognosis, that's pretty much all we can do. We can just wait it out. And to me, it's like he's one big mystery, because every other year I'm just finding he's doing something different. Even though he's making gradual improvements as far as like his health, it's just, we're all over the place. We are just trying to figure out what's going on with him. The main issue right now is the epilepsy. He gets seizures. He is on phenobarbital. He gets phenobarbital twice a day, and this is something that has to be adjusted as he grows. So to jump to where we are right now with Noah, like I said, Noah's in school. He's getting therapy around the clock. He gets his PT, his OT, his speech. Noah is not speaking. He is babbling. He's been babbling for some time. Right now, I feel like he is more aware, even though he cannot verbalize, you know, what's wrong with him. Or not so much he can't verbalize, but he can't tell you in words. I feel like when it comes to him being hungry, or him just being tired, or him wanting something, or he's just like in a bad mood, he'll make certain sounds. It's been hard just because there are times when I know he's not feeling good, and of course with him being nonverbal, you know, it's just like, oh my gosh, like what do I do? Like, tell me, like, what is wrong? I wish he could tell me what is wrong. You know, with speech, we're trying to work on getting him to communicate in other ways. Like, I know a little bit of sign language, and his speech therapist knows sign language as well. So when it comes to eating and him wanting more food, or, you know, just whatever, she goes over sign language with him, and I'll do the same at home. It's all about intervention. And this is what I try to tell my parents who are experiencing these things for the first time. You have to look into these resources. Do your research. I'm telling you, there are apps out there. There are people out there. There are things that you could be doing with your child. It's a lot though. It's a lot. You know, if you're noticing that your child is not meeting their milestones, you need to seek a professional. Do not delay on this, guys, because I'm telling you, if I did not have therapy for Noah early on, he would not be doing half of the things that he's doing right now. But I want to say overall, Noah has definitely made progression. You know, at least in my eyes, he's made progression. I know some people will look at me like, oh my gosh, why are you carrying him around? But they don't even know that he's not able to walk. And I don't want to say that he's not able to walk, but he's not able to walk yet. You know, I want to be able to speak it into existence and say that he will be able to do these things. It just sucks that he's not able to experience what I experienced as a child, and I think that's what hurts the most. But who's to say that he's not happy? Because I'm telling you, this child wakes up with a smile on his face every day, despite everything that he goes through. So again, I'm not saying that he is not cognitive, you know, of things, but with him having a congenital disorder, he does not process, you know, information or emotions the same. And also, I shared with you guys that he had a 24-hour EEG, which I'm still waiting for results for. It's gonna take some time, of course, but he's been having blue spells, which we think he's holding his breath, but we just want to rule out the seizure activity. Quite sure what's going on with that. He's seeing pulmonologists, cardiologists, endocrinology, neurology. Like, we have so many doctors involved, but nobody can tell me what is going on. So I'm just hoping that we'll have some type of answer from this study, and I will keep you guys posted with that. I'm a hot mess. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Actually, you guys can see this, 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to make this video super duper long, but I just wanted to share with you guys, you know, pretty much like how this thing started, and how Noah has progressed and what we're facing now. I'm gonna be doing more chatty videos instead of like vlogs, because I know for some reason I'm just not getting those views, but it's all good. I will still be pushing content. I know the algorithm on YouTube is kind of wacky right now, but it's okay. We won't stop. We will not stop. So make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, hit that notification bell so that way you guys know when I upload. All right guys, I'll see you on Sunday.